loud crash, he stumbled into several suits of armor. Just then the prince appeared. He was about to greet Mickey when the helmets toppled onto each of their heads. Mickey and the prince pulled off their helmets and gasped. "You look just like me," said Mickey. "No, no, no," cried the prince. "You mean you look exactly like me." Exactly like me. Then the prince had an idea.
Are we doing that one?
We're reading that one yet? "I could take your place for one day. I'm tired of being a prince," he said. "I'm tired of studying." What? "And fencing and never having time for myself. I like to see what's going on outside these castle walls." "If we swapped clothes," he told Mickey, "you could live like a prince for a while, and I could walk around the kingdom just like an ordinary citizen." "But I don't know how to be a prince," said Mickey. "Don't worry," said the prince, and he gave Mickey some royal clothes. "To govern, you need only say, 'Splendid idea! I'm glad I thought of it,' and 'Guards, seize him!'" The prince put on Mickey's clothes, climbed through the window, and slid down a vine. "I'll be back in the wink of an eye," he called, mistaking the prince for Mickey. Captain Pete grabbed him as soon as he reached the ground. Then he placed the prince in a catapult and fired him over the castle wall. "And stay out," Captain Pete shouted. The prince landed on his face in the snow, and Goofy and Pluto ran over to help him. As soon as Pluto sniffed the prince, he knew it wasn't his master Mickey. So Pluto trotted off to the castle gate to wait for the real Mickey. "Gosh, Mickey," cried Goofy, "you should jump over the wall. You shouldn't jump over the wall and land on your head like that. You could get hurt." Of course, the prince had no idea who Goofy was. "I'm Goofy, remember?" said the prince's friend. "So I see, my good man," the prince mumbled. "But I really must be going. Ta-ta." Now Goofy was really confused. Mickey had certainly never talked this way before. Once the prince managed to get away from Goofy, he began to enjoy his new surroundings. "What a nice little place," he said to himself. I really must try to come here more often." The prince was enjoying his walk when he spotted a little dog. Because he'd never had a pet before, he thought it would be fun to play with the little dog. But the little dog had bigger friends who thought chasing the prince was even more fun.
What is he doing?
Their doggies are chasing him. Back at the castle, Mickey was quickly becoming bored with his life as a prince. He did not like spending his day taking all those lessons. Not when he could be eating instead. Hi. Mickey licked his lips as Donald, the prince's butler, carved a giant turkey. Mickey was about to help himself, but Donald pushed him away. Your Highness," said Donald. "Not yet. Remember, I have to taste it first. What if your enemy is trying to poison you?" "What enemies?" asked Mickey, but Donald didn't answer. His mouth was too full. And before Mickey got a taste, Donald gobbled up everything on the platter. Outside the castle, the real prince quickly discovered that the greatest enemies of the town people were the kingdom's soldiers.
What's that one?
It's Clarabelle.
What did Clarabelle do?
She had the chicken. Captain Pete had been ordering his men to steal everything they could carry.
What's they doing?
They took the chicken. The prince was horrified. "As your prince, I command you to give me back everything you have stolen," he declared. "Prince," scoffed the soldier. "Oh, I get it. You forgot to wear your crown today," he said as he clobbered the prince with a pumpkin.
The chicken.
"How's that for a crown?"
What happened to chicken?
They took it away. Then the prince remembered something. "I can prove I'm the prince," he shouted. He showed them his royal ring, the only thing he had brought from the castle. Everyone bowed before the prince when they saw it, even the soldier who had a cart of stolen food. "It is the prince," he cried. The prince quickly took charge of the food and began to give it back to the hungry people. He handed out loaves of bread and chicken and sausages and ham until all the food had been returned. Hooray for the prince! Shouted the happy crowd. Not everyone was happy about the prince's kindness, least of all Captain Pete. Captain Pete Spikes, who ran off to tell him about what the prince was up to. Quickly, Pete found the prince and had him thrown into the castle dungeon. Don't pull my hair, right? No, right. You don't do it. You'll get in trouble if you do it. You don't do it. Donald was in prison too. He's sad, huh? Yeah. The prince wept as he sat on the cold stone floor. Because he had changed places with Mickey, he had nothing with his father when the king died. And now Mickey the pauper would be crowned king. Suddenly there was the sound of a heavy footsteps. Donald and the prince peered out the cell door to see a tall figure coming towards them. He was carrying a very sharp axe. See, Goofy? Yes, the royal executioner, gasped Donald. Captain Pete must have sent him.
Donald, go with.
That's Goofy. The prince and Donald shuddered as the executioner approached. To their great surprise, he tripped on a long rope and knocked the guards unconscious with the side of his axe. Gosh, I'm sorry, said Goofy, as he pulled off his hood. Donald grabbed the keys from Goofy and unlocked the door. Meanwhile, Captain Pete continued his evil plan. He was forcing Mickey to become the new king. Don't pull, please. To make sure that Mickey would obey his orders, Pete kidnapped Pluto. Pete knew that Mickey would never do anything. Hey, be nice to Mike, okay? To put his dog in danger. With Mickey on the throne, Captain Pete would control the kingdom. Just as the crown was about to be placed on Mickey's head, Mickey ducked and said, "Stop! Captain Pete is a traitor! Guards, seize him!" "The boy is an impostor," shouted Pete. "But I am not," called the prince, bursting into the room. As he rushed towards Captain Pete, he snatched a sword from the guard, and a fight was on. Goofy and Donald were doing their best to help the prince. Donald swung the axe and sliced the ropes that held the chandelier. It fell down on a whole crowd of soldiers. When the brave prince knocked Pete's sword out of his hand, the townspeople cheered. "Off to the dungeon with them," commanded the prince. The townspeople tied up Pete and his men and led them away. Then it was time for the ceremony. The real prince was crowned king, and the people could feel safe once more. With a kind of genuine roar, the people all lived happily ever after, thanks to Mickey, Goofy, and Donald. The end.
I want to read this one.
We're all done.
Can I get out?
You want to get out now?